You're listening to the Fantasy Wildcard Podcast.
Good evening. Welcome to the Fantasy Wildcard Dynasty Show. I'm your host, Kev. You can follow me on X at The Dynasty Man. You know where to catch me. And we have got the best three of the Fantasy Wildcard crew on tonight. We've got the main men themselves. We've got Ali. We've got Mags. We'll come to you first, Ali. We can follow on X at FF Dynasty Girl. Good evening. How are you doing, buddy?
Good evening, mate. Yeah, I am absolutely pumped for tonight's show. I won't give the reason why. I text you boys about it. But I'm absolutely ready for tonight's show. And what a week it's been. We've had a celebration that we're going to talk about. And yeah, I mean, fantasy-wise, it was one of the best weeks I've had in a long time, where I think now we're headed into week 9, halfway point of the season. And I think you know where a lot of your dynasty teams are going to go. So a lot of them lost that I wanted to lose, and the ones that I wanted to win did win. So had a really good week. Yeah, doing really good. Can't wait to chat about week 8 with you boys. How are you doing, Kev?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic. Yeah, I think it's similar sort of result-wise to you, in the sense that a lot of my great teams won, a lot of my bad teams lost. So yeah, it's heading in the right direction both ways. There's only a few teams I've got in the middle, which that number's getting less and less by the day, and they're the ones I've been really active on. So I would just say to anyone out there that's got the portfolio teams, focus on the middle ones the most at this stage, and just make sure you're getting and pushing in that right direction as soon as you can. But I'm doing fantastic. And speaking of fantastic, we're going to bring in the most fantastic looking of our crew tonight. He's got a lovely glow on him. It's Mags, so you can follow on X at Hot Seat Mags. Evening, Mags. How is it up north?
Oh, doing fantastic all the way up here in sunny Scotland, actually, believe it or not, for once. Not too bad up here. It's quite nice. My favorite type of weather is when it's just like crisp, like sunshine day. It's not too hot, not too cold. It's been like that for a couple of days. It's been wonderful. So I've been lapping up as much as possible. And of course, we can't go on without mentioning Kansas City Chiefs still the only undefeated team in the NFL, Kev. So let's keep rolling with that.
Until this week, my friend.
Oh, it's a big week, isn't it? Actually, yeah.
Why? What's the matchup this week, lads? You have to tell the audience if you don't know.
Monday Night Football, I believe, is it, Ali?
It is, mate. On my birthday as well.
Ooh!
Wow.
Wow. Well, I hope you like humble pie instead of cake, Ali, because that's what you're going to be getting.
You just never know, Kev. You never know.
You never know. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And you know what? I'm sure it'll be a fun show next week, but we've got a fun show tonight. First of all, I've got the week 8 slate to recap, and I've seen the show sheet. We've got some fantastic topics tonight. We're going to come to you first, Ali, for something that got mentioned once or twice on NFL Red Zone this weekend, right?
Yes, mate. I'm just thinking about that matchup. I mean, at the start of the season, say the first couple of weeks, what was the chances that either the Buccaneers beat the Chiefs? I'd have put that at a higher odds than what we got on Sunday. It was just the tight end celebration day, official tight end, national tight end day. But I mean, who really would have expected so many tight ends to absolutely pop off the way that the season started? It was really, really drab, dreary at the position. And now we've been spoiled, boys. We've been absolutely spoiled with the big performances over the weekend. We're talking George Kittle. I mean, 128 receiving yards against the Cowboys and a touchdown. Kyle Pitts against the Bucks, 2 touchdowns, 91 yards. Trey McBride going off 124 yards on 9 receptions. Kate Otten, oh my God, how perfect it was in more ways than one, which we'll be talking about on the DFS show. But yeah, 2 touchdowns, 81 yards. Travis Kelce coming good, 90 yards and a touchdown. Tucker Kraft only caught three passes, but 78 yards and a touchdown. Our boy David Njoku came good as well, 61 yards and a touchdown. And even Sam Laporta chipped in with a touchdown. And and 48 receiving yards. So, yeah, it was just a special day where clearly the NFL teams got the memo that they needed to get their tight ends involved this week, and it was just touchdown after touchdown. And yeah, it was big if you had these players in your fantasy team. So 5 tight ends, 20 plus PPR points in week 8. So yeah, confidence is definitely up. You just think of the early struggles from the first few weeks. So now these are players that you can put in your flex positions if you're struggling with bye weeks. Bye weeks hit again this week. So I know the 49ers run bye. Is it the Cowboys? Someone else is on bye this week. Steelers, that's the one. Yeah. So there's players that you got on bye. These are players like K-Dot, and you can put in your flex and they're producing for you. So just wanted to show you just a quick recap of how the season started with tight ends. So weeks 1 to 4, it was absolutely terrible, and we brought it up. Only 6 tight ends were averaging 10 or more points per game PPR. It was really difficult to choose the right ones. Difficult to know who to trade for. But if you rode it out, we're in luck now, because the previous 4 weeks 5 to 8, 16 tight ends are now averaging more than 10 PPR points per game. So that's exactly where you want it. In weeks 1 to 4, the tight end one, George Kittle, was averaging 14.4 points per game. So that was okay, but not, you don't really want the number 1 overall tight end to be averaging just 14.4 points per game. You want it to be higher than that. And that's what we've got in the minute. So from weeks 5 to 8, so the last 4 weeks, 7 tight ends are averaging more than 14.4 points per game. So yeah, they're absolutely smashing it right now. And I just wonder what the reason is behind this. Obviously, offenses have to adapt. There was low scoring the first few weeks just overall. So scoring's definitely gone up. Touchdowns have gone up. There's been a lot of key wide receiver injuries as well. And we saw another one this week with Stephon Diggs. That's been a factor. We've seen defenses, they don't want to get beaten deep. So they're playing 2 high safeties. Quarterbacks are having to dink and dunk more. And it's obviously falling in the laps of the tight ends. So yeah, tight end play overall is definitely up big time over the last few weeks. Hopefully it can continue. And I just thought I'd bring up some trade targets for tight ends. So these are 3 tight ends that I think are either underperforming, or I think there's more to come. So Trey McBride is my number 1 target. He's absolutely performing in terms of target share. The yards are there. Another 100+ game this week. But just hardly any touchdowns. So these touchdowns are going to come. He's someone that I want to pay up for. David Njoku as well. If you can get hold of him for a cheap price, maybe trade down from say Laporte or someone like that. Really like David Njoku. And Jake Ferguson as well. He's been performing, but the touchdowns haven't come. So 0 so far this year. Positive touchdown regressions coming for Ferguson. So yeah, it was a celebration, boys. Definitely with K-Dot. It
was like, I don't know if you heard, but they did mention it a few times on Red Zone that it was National Tight End Day. Like just in case people didn't hear, it was every time there was a new highlight, it was a tight end doing something. Like every single time, it was really, really good to see. After, we were kind of all, yeah, you're right, Ali, we were a little bit worried about what the hell is going on here with these tight ends. So it's nice to see a lot of them return to form. And I'm definitely going to be doing, and Kev, obviously going to pass it to you next, maybe you can weigh in on this as well. On the Wildcard Rewind show on Monday, Hannah brought up a point. She's going to start targeting this day and like putting tight ends in the flex on purpose on this day, because it's not the first time that we've seen this happen where loads of tight ends do start exploding on National Tight End Day. So is that something that you're going to be doing? Because I'm definitely taking Hannah's advice and running with it as well. I'm doing that from now on.
Look, this happens every year. Like I was a bit fuming, but also happy because picked out 8 tight ends Sunday before the game started who I was going to have a little bet on. Like a little gamble to score a touchdown. And it was like, I didn't manage to get the bet on because I got busy on some other bits, but like ticking them off as they go. Thankfully, one tight end let me down, Dalton Schultz. You absolute legend. But I was getting pretty nervous thinking I could be winning thousands here. So, I think it does happen. It seems to happen every year. And Yeah, I think you summed it up really well, both you guys. But I think the reasons for it, wide receiver injuries is big, and then just offenses finally getting into the run of things. Really, the fact that offenses have tended to start slow this season. I think Max, you mentioned earlier in the year about what do they actually do in pre-season, how bad a lot of these offenses look. So I think there's a combination of things in there, but it's looking a lot rosier, this landscape, than it did week 3, week 4, etc. So so some great names there. McBride and Joker are like my most owned tight ends. So let's keep it rolling and see them points come in for the man, David Njoku. But also well done to K. Dotton, which he might get a mention on the DFS show this week. I think maybe not. But we're going to move on to our next topic. Really interesting topic. If your team gets called out on this one, it's maybe not a great thing, but it's great for the players there, right?
Yeah, this is something that it's maybe been spoken about before, maybe not in this way. It's bad team, good players. So it is what teams in the NFL are currently bad or struggling, but actually some of the players on that roster are definitely worth picking up. And I'm not really talking about your Garrett Wilsons or your Brian Thomas Jr. They're kind of the obvious ones. So if I just stick to the wide receiver position, something I always like to do, especially this time of year when I'm really sure if I'm a contender or not, or if I'm making that playoff push, or if I'm trying to make a push for that all-important bye as well, I'm really looking for solid wide receiver 2s, even sometimes wide receiver 3s that I think can come in and help me out, fill in on a bye week, help out in a flex spot, and I can use their team to my advantage. Because currently we have a couple of teams playing really badly. The New York Giants stink. The New York Jets stink. I was going to talk about the Panthers, but maybe I have to change. Maybe I have to change that one because obviously some news breaking about Deontay Johnson. But we'll roll back to him in a little bit. Wan'Dale Robinson currently, while everyone's looking at Malik Neighbors, Wan'Dale Robinson's wide receiver 20 at the minute for the New York Giants. He's a guy I would like to go out and try and target to fill in. Everyone's going to think the Giants suck. Hopefully they're not paying too much attention to Robinson. You can pick him up on the cheap. Same with Alan Lazard. Alan Lazard's wide receiver 17 on the year, which is bonkers to me. I don't quite understand how he's got there, but he is there. And we know Aaron Rodgers loves targeting him. You can go out and get Alan Lazard for almost nothing because everyone's saying the Jets stink. He's not Garrett Wilson. He's not Breece Hall. You could probably go and get him for cheap. And he's someone that could win you a matchup one week, which could end up getting you that all-important bye. I can't really stress enough. I know we do it every year. But if you're a contender, you should be doing as much as you possibly can to try and get that bye week because it just becomes such a shootout in the playoffs that having that extra week not playing anyone is so huge. And these are the players that can actually help you get there sneakily. My other one was Deontay Johnson. He's just been traded to the Ravens, so he's now on a good team. So I'm not talking about too much. But what I might do is have a look a little bit at that Panthers wide receiver room now and think, whose turn is it? Which one of Kev's flames is going to step up and start ruling the roost over there in Carolina? I don't know who it might. Don't even know if they're all still there, Kev. But one of them surely, right?
Yeah, I think Adam Thielen coming back soon from injury. Maybe he can come and take hold of that wide receiver one role. But I think you're absolutely right, Max. We tend to gravitate towards the good teams because more touchdown, upside, etc. Especially at running back, you want to target those good teams. But at wide receiver, you can sneakily get by with the playing from behind, the volume that they get that way. So like a guy like Wan'Dale Robinson with the Giants, they're going to play from behind a lot. It's going to be a lot of targets there for him to really sort of total up those receptions. And there is a lack of touchdown upside on these bad teams because they lose, they're playing from behind, there's not as many red zone opportunities. But I would say don't shy away from these bad teams. And actually you could say the opposite as well, like these good teams, there's probably players on there that are more name than game, but maybe, Max.
Chiefs.
Maybe we'll come to that in a little bit.
Maybe.
Ooh. Good teaser, Kev. I'm just going to highlight a couple of teams that I think is fantasy gold mine, especially right now. You're talking about the Cleveland Browns. terms of records, there's not many teams. All right, they managed to beat the Ravens this week, but there's not many teams that still stink it up less than them or more than them, should I say? So just look at this week. You had Tillman, Cedric Tillman go off, Jerry Jeudy even catching or putting up fantasy points. You've got obviously David Njoku, and this quarterback has absolutely transformed this team. And these are players where their defense isn't what it used to be. So Jameis Winston, is going to sling it. And then the other team is the Colts with Richardson being benched. Flacco comes in again, and Flacco's not afraid to just stand back there and just sling it. And massive uptick to Josh Downs, Michael Pittman, the likes of those. So yeah, these are players that I want to target, even though they are bad teams. I would say they're putting up more points right now than. Sorry, the Kansas City Chiefs. The wide receiver room at the Kansas City Chiefs is, they're winning, but they're not winning with their wide receivers and fantasy production. So, like the subject, picking bad teams and certain players that actually have good fantasy output.
Don't be scared of these bad teams, and Titan probably comes out. So I remember when Darren Waller was Titan 3 for the Raiders. It hits the Raiders like lots of volume, etc. So a great topic there, Mags. And we're going to come on to the next topic, which I'm going to talk about some underrated elite players. And I want to stress that elite tag. It's not something I'm going to just throw around and give to anyone. But and I promise I'm not a homer. But this first guy, I feel that he deserves a mention. Jalen Hurts, QB1 on the week. So efficient as a pass this week. 3 rushing touchdowns, including 2 tush pushers. So it's back. Baby's got back, and it's back. Quarterback 3 in fantasy points per game, which is above Josh Allen, CJ Stroud, Jordan Love, Joe Burrow. Let's not forget, though, 3 games without AJ Brown. If you're counting just the games with AJ Brown, his floor on those weak performances is QB 10. Keep Shake Up got him quarterback 8, which I think is disgraceful based on him being QB3 in fantasy points per game. Like it was at that range before the season. What's changed? I think people need to change their opinions on that pretty quick. Devon Achane, running back 2 on the week, 10 rushing attempts, 6 receptions and a touchdown. He is running back 17 in fantasy points per game, but I just want to let you in on something. 3 games with Tua. He's finished running back 3, running back 2, running back 2 overall on the week. So, the dog loves it as well. 3 games, 26.4 fantasy points. That would be the running back 1 by over 4 fantasy points per game. So, if he keeps it up with Tua, he's a guaranteed league winner at that. Keep Jacob got him running back 7, which again behind guys like Saquon, Kyron Williams, Kenny Walker. I think it's tough. It's a tough range, is that? But I think Achane's got massive upside. And the last one, CeeDee Lamb. Wanted to give him a little shout. Wide receiver 1 on the week, a couple of touchdowns against 49ers. Wide receiver 70 fantasy points per game. He is really close to guys like Neighbors, AJ Brown, Chase, Jefferson, etc. Lowest touchdowns per game of that group. I think if he increases those, then he's going to go level or above these guys. Keith Cut's not miles off, wide receiver 4, but he's in that tier below Chase and Neighbors now, which I don't think he should be there. He was a wide receiver 1 last season. He's got the contract. Dak's got the contract. I think he's super safe, and I just feel he is a tad underrated and still elite.
Couldn't agree more. 3 players I absolutely love for Dynasty, have plenty of shares of, and I completely agree. I wrote about it this week, how underrated Jalen Hurts was. I've not seen his keep trade cut quarterback 8. Is that alive? Is that from today? That is absolutely terrible. Quarterback 8. The start of the season, he was without his 2 best, elite wide receivers. Since they've been back, he's the quarterback 2, averaging 26.6 points per game, which is, that means it's where he's been his whole career. So they talk about the rushing touchdowns, how it's not sustainable. Well, it might not be sustainable, but when the defense has got to cater for Saquon Barkley running up the middle, 2 elite wide receivers, and God, it's not a bad tight end either. It just opens everything up, and his floor is so high. So yeah, absolutely love these. We've spoke about Devon Achane so many times on this show, and what a big fan we are of him, just because of that absolute ceiling that he puts up. And yeah, hopefully Tua can stay healthy, because this offense just clicks with him in it. And yeah, Achane has that massive floor of and that ceiling, of RB1 each week. And yeah, CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver 4. He's my wide receiver 2 in Dynasty, just behind Justin Jefferson, in the same tier as Malik Neighbors. So yeah, if I had Jamar Chase, I would take advantage of his sort of good spell that he's having right now, and I'd trade him straight up for CeeDee Lamb, because I think I prefer CeeDee Lamb as that asset over Jamar Chase. So absolutely love these, Kev. They're underrated in terms of keep trade cut value, and I'm in total agreement.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm in such agreement that even though I wouldn't totally agree if someone come out and said that Hurts, Achane, and CeeDee Lamb are there ranked number 1 at their respective positions for Dynasty, I wouldn't put up too much of a fight. I don't agree, but I wouldn't be like, that's a disgrace, get out of here. Like, I can see it. Like, so yeah, the fact that they're currently at 8 and 7 and 4 just shows you there's definitely some value to be had there. Have we lost Kev, LA? We might have lost Kev.
Well, he's still looking at us, but
we can't hear him. He's still here.
Yeah, he's still here.
I'm still here, but it just went a little bit wild then. I think, dogs are barking, and I can hear like sirens outside. So yeah, I think maybe someone's messing with me, but they're the underrated players. We're gonna turn the tables and go to the overpriced, overrated Dynasty assets now.
We are. I'm hoping Ray is not going to jump in on this one. I can take this one, dog. So there's somebody come to my door delivering me parcels, but these players are not delivering you fantasy success. Well, perhaps they are, but I think they're slightly overpriced Dynasty assets. So this is the opposite in terms of the keep trade cut ranking. So I've got one at each position. Quarterback, CJ Stroud. I mean, this is going to be no surprise to people, because this is someone that we touted as overpriced at the start of the season. He hit the overall quarterback 1. He's nowhere near that at the minute for me. Keep trade cut, I've got him at quarterback 4. He's in fact the quarterback 22 in points per game this season with 15.3, and he's had just one game over 20 fantasy points. He's actually hit less points per game than Patrick Mahomes. So why is CJ Stroud getting such a free pass?
That's scrub.
When everybody's talking about how bad Patrick Mahomes is doing, I don't quite get it. I think that quarterback 4 needs to be looked at. He's probably quarterback 6, 7 for me. Stephon Diggs is obviously out now for the rest of the season. Torn ACL, horrible injury. Nico's still out another game, so I can't see this week being a good performance for CJ Stroud. Tank Dell has not been the same Tank Dell he was last year. Then you look at what they are actually doing. They're kind of a bit of a Kansas City Chiefs, because Joe Mixon has been the star, touching the ball 30 times a game when he's been healthy. He's the one that's been racking up all the fantasy points. Their defense is playing rather well. So what's the ceiling? You look at last year, people thought he was going to build on 2023, 18.7 points per game last year, down to 15.3 now. So yeah, look out for that and see if you can take advantage. So my pivot would be, to any of the top 5 quarterbacks, including Joe Burrow, straight up, I'll do that. Or you can pivot down to Jordan Love, Caleb Williams, plus. They're also moves I would make. Running back, Kyron Williams. You'll love to hear this one, Mags. He is currently running back 5 on keep trade cut. And I have to say, I absolutely love Kyron Williams. I've got plenty of shares of him. I took a risk on him in the offseason, and it's paying off right now. But I just have to say, you can't be too comfortable with a Sean McVay running back. You can't have too many shares. I just think one major injury, and he's one major injury away from a massive value drop. You can see Blake Corum. If he got injured, Blake Corum would come in there, look half decent. Would he give the job back? Not so sure. So You also look at his metrics. His so much of his fantasy production has come via touchdowns. He's had a touchdown in every single game this season. He's had 10 touchdowns through 7 games, which is phenomenal. He's not really active in the receiving game for the Rams either. So he's getting it done via the ground and via touchdown. So my pivot, it's a difficult one with Kyren, because if you're contending, you're not really going to want to give up Kyren Williams. So I say the only way you can go is up, pivot and up. So to the likes of Brees, Jahmyr Gibbs, that is performing well. If you're a middling team with Kyren Williams, I think now is the time to get off him. I'd like to trade him straight up for Devon Achane, Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley, people like that. Is a move that I'd like to make. In terms of wide receivers, Jamar Chase, wide receiver 2 on Keep Trade Cut. I've got him wide receiver 4, so slightly higher than where I've got him. He is the wide receiver 3 in points per game, but I still think he's still got that boom bust profile. That's his production this year. He's had big game, which has really bolstered up his production. Then he has a disappointing one. So not fully in love with Jamar Chase. I'd love to pivot to a CeeDee Lamb and Malik Neighbors. I'd do that straight up because I have them ranked ahead of him. In terms of a pivot down, I'd love to trade for Amon-Ra St. Brown, Nico Collins, Puka Nacua, or even AJ Brown plus. That's a move that I would also make. And then finally, tight ends. So Sam Laporta is just tight end 3 still on Keep Trade Cut, which is incredible because he's been the tight end 18 in points per game this season. He actually hit his season high of 6 targets this week, which is crazy because that was like his low for especially the second half of last season. I think a lot of it was because Jameson Williams was suspended this week, which really helped him out. 53 receiving yards. That's also his season high. 2023, he was averaging 7 targets per game. This year, so far, he's averaged 3.3 targets per game. So he's really not been a factor for Detroit, despite them putting up so many points. So the pivot that I would love to do is to pay whatever it takes to trade up to Trey McBride. I think he's in a different league to Sam Laporta now. Or straight up for Kyle Pitts, who's putting up loads of points, and George Kittle, I think still the number 1 tight end. So if I'm going to pivot down, David Njoku, already been mentioned several times on tonight's show. Love to do that. Or Tucker Kraft is someone that I really like. I'd make that move plus.
Yeah, this is how you build long-term success in Dynasty Fantasy Football, is you identify these players that are on your roster and you trade them away and take the Moneyball approach is, how can I get the same points that I'm getting anyway, but get a plus on top of it? And that's how you keep things rolling. I talked about before a few weeks ago how when CJ Stroud hit that number 1 and Keep Trade Cut, I traded him and Zamir White and got back Jalen Hurts and Devon Achane. One of the best trades I've ever made. But on Keep Trade Cut, it says you've lost that trade. But you know you've not. Like, you don't just have that be the be all and end all, and trust your own rankings and your own system. So whenever you have a discrepancy, like we see here, Wally, with your rankings and with the voice of the audience and Keep Trade Cut, then you have to start making moves aggressively and think about, how am I going to improve my team long term? And I think this is a really good topic for anyone, especially now as well. If you're contending, be greedy. Go out and get some more contending pieces, but get some rebuild pieces too. Don't just go chips all in. Be greedy. It's called Dynasty for a reason.
Yeah, those pivots and the players I agree with. The pivots, I think I'm about 90% there with most of what you said. Only bits I'd probably say is Kyren on a contender. I personally leave it and not try to give up assets to pivot up to someone that might end up having the same points per game this year. And then the other one, Sam Laporta. Let's revisit Sam Laporta. I remember me saying when he was tight end 1, I think that'd be a good idea to pivot off him and get Rock Bowers and a plus, and got absolutely savaged by the Dynasty community. So that's 1-0 to me on that. I'm going to talk about it again. Pitts or Kittle straight up. That's spicy, that man. Like, I'm not there on that. Yeah, I mean the points on your roster, I agree, but I think you can probably get a plus on that still, unless people are truly out on the Laporta, which again I'm going to take 1-0 on that. So we're going to come to you now, Mags. We teased it earlier on in the show. You talked about bad teams and good players, and now you're going to do the opposite.
Yeah, I'm going to go good teams, bad players. Now, not bad players like bad NFL players, but bad players as in bad for your fantasy team. Ali, you teased it earlier. It's the Chiefs' wide receiver room, right? I'm going to stick to wide receivers as well. I talked about those earlier, so I'll stick to the same position. It's a bit of a crapshoot now. Rashee Rice is out injured. You don't know where the ball is going to go to. It's why the Kansas City Chiefs are so good in the actual NFL, because you don't know where the ball is going to go to. So, unfortunately, the issue that is for your fantasy teams is it's kind of impossible to choose one. So, even though the Chiefs are playing really, really well, it's just so difficult to pick a wide receiver from that room. The 49ers, well, they're playing well. They're playing all right, I suppose. All of their wide receivers are currently wide receiver 3s. Same with the Eagles, but that's both kind of health reasons more than anything else. But if we do look at other teams playing well, Zay Flowers, currently points per game from Baltimore, he's only wide receiver 27. And then the one that really surprised me in points per game, Green Bay's highest wide receiver, he's only wide receiver 18. This is meant to be the super high-powered offense. I wonder if they're struggling with the same thing the Chiefs are, where there's almost too many mouths to feed and you're not really sure where the ball is going to go. So all these teams pretty much considered good teams in the NFL. So what I really wanted to ask you is, can a team sometimes play too well, where they're actually running the ball a little bit more than you would think towards the end of the game? They're not spreading that out to receivers as much as you want. And actually, when the NFL team's playing so well, it's actually a detriment to your fantasy teams. Do you ever think about that? Do you ever think, oh, I might rest a receiver this week because they're playing the Panthers, who are terrible?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Like, Portland Sutton this week, for example, against Panthers, you're thinking, oh, they're going to absolutely steamroller them, and it's probably going to be a lot of Javonte. I call out Javonte on the DFS show. What an idiot. And then Portland Sutton has, like, I think his best game for years. So it is difficult. I think you've made a good point in terms that these some of these offenses are spread it around offenses. You don't know who it's going to be week to week. Green Bay's just horrific week to week. There's not even like someone that's a one and then it's a battle between the twos. It's kind of, you want it to be Jaden Reed, but even he has his bad weeks as well. So there's definitely merit to focusing too much on the teams and the player names rather than the underlying fantasy points per game, which is the key metric, really. Zay Flowers, he's in big trouble with that Deontay Johnson side. Yeah. I've got a lot of Flowers and I'm pretty nervous about that. I've also got quite a bit of Lamar, which is that's a good move for, but that's for another show. I think, can a team play too well? I don't think so. I think it's more to do with the type of offense, but beware of these sexy offenses that spread it around because, you're getting some love, but not too much.
Yeah, I think it's a great question. And I would say, can a team play too well? I'd say, can half of the team play too well, i.e. the defense? When you think about the Kansas City Chiefs, probably the best defense in the NFL overall. And they're the MVPs really of the Chiefs and how they're winning games. So they don't really need to put up too many points on offense. Overall, when you think about these Chiefs, 49ers, Eagles, Ravens, Packers, these are high-powered offenses, or people assume that these could be high-powered offenses. So I don't mind owning these players in terms of assets because I think they'll always be priced accordingly or overpriced because of they're on high-powered offenses. Say if Devontae Smith was on the Panthers, would he be valued as high as he is right now because the fact he's on the Eagles? The same with Xavier Worthy or someone like that. I just think that I don't mind in terms of assets because I think the resale value for these players are higher because they're on supposedly better offenses. But if you're a contender, it is an absolute nightmare knowing who to pick each week. I think it's an absolute, it's terrible. It's not easy whatsoever. Always making the wrong pick, especially the Packers wide receivers. It is absolutely just a crapshoot as to who's going to play well given whatever week. And we've seen Christian Watson now. He's taken all over the snap share from Dontavian Wicks, Kev's favorite wide receiver.
Awful.
But yeah, I don't mind in terms of the assets, but if you're on a contender, I like the Eagles wide receiver room. I think that's fair. You don't really get too many dud games from them, but don't be afraid of trading some of these players away, because you'll be surprised at what you can actually get on a rebuilder or a middling team. Go after someone that's guaranteed, more points on a team each week, even if they're a bad team, as discussed earlier.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried about those. A couple of those teams got you named. The 49ers who lost some wide receivers, the Chiefs who lost Rashi Rice, and the Eagles were next on the list. So if it's that Grim Reaper meme where it's going down the doors, I'm a little bit worried. And it is spooky season. It's Halloween this week, and that brings us perfectly onto the final topic, where I'm going to talk about rebuilding sides, and are these assets tricks or are they treats? So idea is, I'll name a player, I'll give their cost in a draft pick, and you just tell me if that player is a trick, i.e. you prefer the draft pick, or a treat where you would prefer this player on a rebuilding side. So going to come to the first guy, Jonathan Brooks. He's valued as a late 25 first. Jonathan Brooks, trick or treat?
I'm going to go for treat. Is treat is in the player? Yeah, that is right way around, isn't it?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
I should have made it easier.
I think that the Panthers are playing it the exact right way with Brooks. Obviously not contending this year. I think this is the final week where they can activate him, or he remains on IR for the rest of the season, or goes on IR, whatever it is. So that'll be an interesting one to look out for. Disappointed, obviously, we may not see him this year, but I would still pay a late 25 first, because I think you look at Chuba Hubbard, how productive he's managed to be, and I'd love to see this offense in year 2 with Brooks as the main running back.
Yeah, this is an easy treat. Like you just paid a late 24 first for him, and now you can give a late 25 first in a class that isn't as good. So yeah, happy. That's treat, right? Is that right? Treat.
Awesome,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Trey Benson, mid 25 seconds.
I'll keep this one shorter. I absolutely love Trey Benson coming out. He was my pre-draft rookie running back 1. But for whatever reason, he's just not really seen much action. So James Conner's just going to go on and on and on. So I'd probably go trick. Give me the pick.
I'll go treat. I believe in Benson just enough. Just enough.
Good stuff. Mag's favorite guy, Blake Corum, for a late 25 second.
Give me the pick. Trick. Pick all day long.
Yeah, at the minute you gotta you're kind of hoping for an injury here. Yeah, it's kind of too hard to predict. So yeah, I say that's a trick as well.
Well, we're going to switch it now to wide receivers. Rome at Dunze, mid 25 first.
Oh, this is treat all day long. I'm going to stick by Roma Dunze. There was some metric this week where he had the highest air yards or something of the wide receivers. They all struggled this week, but I'm telling you, the breakout was coming for Roma Dunze. So I'll buy him for a mid 25 first. It's the highest I'd pay, but I was still buying at that.
This is an absolute treat. This is like caramel apples, like beautiful, like on a stick. This is lovely. Yeah, absolute treat.
Love that. Jalen McMillan, late 25 seconds, not a 25 first.
Oh,
you know who you are.
Wow, yeah, I would never ever pay a first for Jalen McMillan, but I wouldn't even pay a second. So this is trick. Give me the pick.
Yeah, trick.
Trick, give me the pick. Yeah, and last one, Jermaine Burton. Somebody's wildcard pick thing. Mid 25 third.
Treat. Yeah, I'll pay mid 25 thirds. I like Burton. I still believe Higgins may not be there next year, so Burton will get more chances.
Yeah, agreed. Treat for me as well. Third, may as well put it on someone who's got a shot.
Yeah, I liked Burton when it was a close store about 15 years ago, but that's another. That's for our lifestyle show that we've got coming in the future. Just kidding. Right. So yeah, that brings us to the end of tonight's show, where we've reviewed this week's action in Dynasty Fantasy Football. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to follow us and subscribe to us on X and YouTube at Fantasy Wildcard and at Wildcard Dynasty. Join us for our show every Tuesday. Thank you once again. Have a good one. Happy Halloween, and we'll see you again very soon.
When you have the wild card, you have the power to change the game.